Today on the Daniel Baldwin Show, viewer mail and a tragic shooting in Minneapolis. Coming at you right now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show. I'm going to get right to it as I usually do, and we're going to go with viewer mail. Frank Fontana of Buffalo, New York says, "Hey Daniel, I love your show. My wife and I never miss an episode." Wow, thanks Frank, that's a high compliment. What's your take on the threats from Iran? Wow. Well, first I think I have to circle the wagons a little bit, Frank, and I have to say that I predicted over 2 years ago, during the Biden administration, I predicted that the trifecta would be Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran, that they would eventually find a reason, particularly if we continued on the democratic path, to go into Iran, to find a reason why we're going into Iran, just like we found a reason, weapons of mass destruction and all this other nonsense, was the reason why we went into Iraq. So understand that there's a goal within the strategy. And the goal was, from what my information I was able to ascertain, was that they wanted to create a filling station in the Caspian Sea. So they wanted to take 3 pipes, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran, and then eventually join them into one pipe and no longer have to barrel the oil. They wanted to do it like a filling station. You pull in the ship, the cargo ship, and it has a giant hull that carries the oil instead of barreled oil. And we pour right at a gas station, just fill it up, and then we run those giant ships with the content of oil in them around the world. That was what was one of the big goals for us going in initially. The whole 9/11 thing, we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. So now that doesn't mean that all of the information about enriched uranium and everything was a lie, but yeah, the Bush administration kind of sold us on 9/11. They knocked those towers down. They killed 3,000 Americans. They got everybody fired up here in the U.S., and then they went in and invaded Afghanistan, which was pretty much like robbing a 7-Eleven late at night. You know, we were in and out of that operation pretty quickly. So my take on what's going on now, I think that we're going to find out that there's more stuff moving in those tankers than just oil. So recently they grabbed a ship that came out of Iran. It was intercepted, made some very strange diversionary moves after leaving Venezuela. Some say to avoid U.S. intervention. But let me say that I want to be careful, because sometimes if I say something, it divulges or leads to a source that I know people know, are aware of the fact that I know this person. And so I want to be careful. I think more to come, Frank. I think you're going to understand what's going on a little more. I will say this. The Iranians have said, the newest Trump administration headlines are, Trump has come out and said that if Iran kills or shoots or suppresses protesters, that the U.S. has their back. So for a young Iran, the buzz on the streets of Iran, for the young people who don't know anything but to be held under the thumb of the government, they're very excited after what just happened in Venezuela. You know, people can report, all the Democratic politicians can report all they want about how terrible it is, how lawless it was. The people of Venezuela are so happy to get rid of this guy. And they cut a deal with this guy. They cut a deal with him before he came in. They knew he's the Ayatollah, he's Noriega, he's, many others before him. His regime reminds me more of Pinochet in Chile. But yeah, this guy had a deal already made. He came here. He's now, like the guy before him, that Gonzalez, who won the election, ran off to Spain. So he's got someplace to go. He's not going to do time. He's not going to. What you read about and what they report to you and what really is going on and what's really happening, you never would have. I don't believe Blackhawks flew in and this whole picture that they're painting. I think he was waiting for the Blackhawks to fly in, and yes, they grabbed him, in this midnight mission or whatever it was. But was it, no shots were fired, and They just came in and grabbed the president. Could you imagine flying over the White House and trying to grab Trump? Not that, going down to Venezuela is the same as coming to Washington, D.C., but I think you get the picture. I call bullshit on some of that. But nevertheless, we have him. He's going to face the man in New York. And as far as Iran is concerned, if they give Trump a reason to send, and do I think that troops are going to be in Iran? The troops are important in these type of excursions that we go on. We're not going to some full war with Iran, or we'll fly missions. We'll send, we'll fly some sorties over. We'll hit strategic areas that are known safe havens to terrorists. We'll send drones. We'll do, again, some stuff. We'll target small SEAL team assassinations and stuff like that. And I think Iran will get the message pretty soon. And there might be some pressure over there too, that it's time for a new system and a new way of life. I hope that doesn't mean that we see some kind of backlash here from Iranian nationals that live in the United States. But if that happens, so be it. This is not a president like many others before him that you want to call his bluff. When he raises in a poker hand, be careful. He has something, and certainly he's gonna call you back. He's just not a guy that you mess with. He's a hard, tough leader, and he has a really good grasp on what to do as far as to shut people down in other countries. If I'm one of those countries that's been getting away with a lot of stuff over years, I'd be very worried that my number's going to be called. I would. Even friends that have taken advantage of us in NATO, and they're all going to get called. And believe it or not, the bigger play here with Iran and with Venezuela and a couple of these strategic moves that are taking place with the current administration is, you might see how this puts pressure on Russia and China. You may finally see an end to the Ukrainian war because we're cutting off that oil from Venezuela to Putin. So, again, I'm not 100% sure what's going on in the president and his administration's mind, but I will tell you, there's always a bigger goal than what the other idiots around him and the press is trying to paint him as. He fully understands what he's doing. And I think you're going to see, hopefully we don't have to, I never want to lose a life for any reason if we can avoid it. But I don't think we're putting troops on the ground and making the same mistakes that we did in Iraq or any of that, or the original Persian Gulf confrontation, Desert Storm. So, look for our involvements in some way, as I predicted we would. They're not going to be happy until they resolve this problem with the Iranian administration right now. So, and that might be by taking them out. If they do things that we protect the globe and we call for justice all around the world, and we are the great emancipator. So what do you expect, Trump and the administration to do? What do you expect them to do, Frank? They're going to protect these people. If they're shot innocently or injured because they protest this regime, they're gonna face the gavel of American justice. So look out. Thanks for your comments, and thanks for your question. I also want to add in, I'm so terrible at this part. If you can hit subscription, and you could hit like, or you could follow, or you could share this with other people, because I feel like when I open my phone, and this again, you do with it what you want. It already makes me uncomfortable to have to say it, but I'm told by others that you have to say this, and so here I go. I open my phone, and because of the political nature of my show and the research I have to do, a lot of times I'm at my laptop in my office. This is my little studio. And I'm looking stuff up, and I'm trying to stay on top of what's topical. Today, this shooting in Minneapolis by ICE agents with this woman who was killed. And I'm going to do the show based on that. But so I get a lot of stuff that pops up onto my feed, and there's congressmen, assemblymen, and this one and that one who are just burying the administration. They've turned what happened in Minneapolis into some reflection of the overall government, and just blah 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 blah. So I get all this material, and I try to bring a voice to it that is truthful. You may not always agree with me, and that's okay. That's what makes, our two-party system, and even with independents, we could say three, but so far, besides maybe Ross Perot, I haven't seen how an independent has really shaped an election. But be that as it may, I see such a bombardment of people that are against what's going on and the plan of this elected man and this elected administration that a majority of Americans voted for. And believe it or not, this is what we wanted. We don't want innocent people to be killed. Obviously, that's terrible. But let's examine that, shall we? So if you can follow, if you can share, it gives us a voice. If you subscribe, it builds that number up so we reach more people and we get to say our side. Because if you look at the news, it's very one-sided. It's very, the bombardment from the left about anything that happens. If Trump cures cancer, there are lab mice that died and sacrificed their lives to save American people and help the world that will now become the most important thing, those poor lab rats. So again, I don't want a rat to die, but if a couple rats have to go to save, a bunch of people from a disease, take the rats. I think not enough people support the logic from the right. And so I'm here to be that voice. And if I disagree with the president or I disagree with something that happened, or I'll say it, I will say it. So who was Renee Nicole Good, the woman who was killed in Minneapolis during an ICE shooting? So at first I read up some about her. She was a poet from Old Dominion University. Sounds like she was lovely. She was married, and tragically her husband passed. I believe they have one child. I looked at the original footage, which looks like her SUV is kind of sliding sideways and comes close to an ICE agent. And then, so we're going to debate, blah, blah. Now there's very clear footage from someone else's vest camera, I believe. But it shows the angle where the ICE agent actually, he's contacted by her SUV as she takes off. So let me just lay this first part out. I'm so sad that this woman, for whatever reasons she did what she did, has lost her life. Let's get that very clear. I don't want to get a lot of mail saying, yeah, you're just like these people. Nobody wants to shoot, even a hardened criminal. Nobody wants to shoot anybody and kill them. They don't. He was a hot-headed agent. He was this, he was that. That man did not want to kill this woman. He did not. But I want you to go, and you're about to go get your coffee in Dunkin' Donuts. You're going to walk in, and you don't even know what's going on. There could be a sting operation going with an employee or whatever. And you're in your car, and you're starting to pull out, and you see the agent. You clearly identify that something's going on, and they don't know whether, they're not sure. Are you involved in the, doesn't matter. Guns come out, and they say, freeze, police, ICE, whatever it is, FBI, and they're aiming weapons at you, and you're told, stop, get out of the car. You can hear, get out of the car. And they try to open the door of the car, and you hit the accelerator and take off. That might be because you panicked. That might be because you were frightened. That might be, it was a response that was, you're not even sure why you did it. Let's just say it was a flight, fright, whatever you want to label it as. You gunned your car towards federal agents with guns drawn after they gave you a lawful command to get out of the car. Now, a bullet is, whatever caliber it is, size, and it's coming at you at high speed, and you're pretty convinced that a bullet could do great damage to you. When the guns are drawn, they're not drawn for show. When you hit the accelerator of an SUV or a car or anything, you're hitting the accelerator of a 3,000-pound bullet. You're aggressing agents who have told you, get out of the car. You're going to get shot. You're going to get shot. Forget about whether it's ICE and you don't believe them or what your politics are or whatever. If you're out in front of a bank and the alarm's gone off and the SUVs and the cars start pulling up and you come running out and they go, get on the ground, and you start to reach into your coat, you put your life in total jeopardy that someone with that gun aimed at you is going, why would you ever reach for your cell phone or reach for a gun? And again, the law enforcement guys are at a great disadvantage. You have to make sure, you have to confirm that you saw a gun or that you saw a knife, and were they using it in an aggressive way? When a truck, when a car, a vehicle is told to stop and they're trying to open the door to the car and she chose to hit the gas and take off, she made a terrible choice. And again, I'm not saying I know what was on her mind. I'm not saying that it was absolutely, from what I've seen, a lawful act by the agent. It's a very unfortunate act. But yeah, you can't hit the gas and run somebody over or make contact with an agent and not expect, you could have killed the man. So let me ask you this. In the footage that you'll see that I believe exonerates the agent, or at least backs the story that this woman made a mistake. I'm not even going to say it was aggressive or, maybe she just panicked. I don't know, but you don't know that when you're the one with the gun. So I just want to ask you this question. I want you to think about this. For all those detractors who are trying to make this about Trump and ICE, and had the first agent been killed, had she caught more of his body and he went backwards and hit his head, and the second agent shot the woman in the car, would you have been okay with that? Would you have been okay with the fact that she killed someone? Or let's say that. Let's give another example. What if she fractured his skull? What if he was in a coma in the hospital and he has 3 kids and he has every right to make a living? Again, would that have changed it for you? So I mean, what are we looking at in this case? And we're saying anything but how sad that she reacted that way. She put herself in jeopardy and she was killed. So I'm not sure when I look at all, I know that it's a great opportunity with all the stuff going on in Minneapolis for Waltz and a lot of people up there who know that their name is going to be uncovered. They know that they're going to be traced and be a part of this whole Somali thing. So Minneapolis is a hotbed right now. I mean, and this will be what we focus our attention on. This will be what tamps down the fire that's going on there right now with hundreds and hundreds of millions to billions of dollars of fraud that's going on and has been going on. And remember, as I said before, and you're going to find this out, this is going to come out. You're not some Somali refugee that moves to Minneapolis and can do all that paperwork and all that stuff. Not that I'm not questioning the Somalians' intelligence or whatever, but you would have needed help to get that stuff okayed, to get it by the necessary agencies and so on that would approve that kind of money for a child care center, for any kind of medical stuff or babysitting, all the stuff that we're talking about. There's some places there with food appropriations that they're saying we're making, in Boston now, $500,000 a week to some small company that wasn't giving anybody food. So people are going to start looking at it. People are going to start looking because they don't want to be the next Minneapolis. And the sad thing is, here we are. I read a little interview with the mother of this girl. Her last name was Good. Good was pronounced dead after being struck by gunfire. The agent involved has not been publicly identified, and the incident remains under investigation. Members of the Minneapolis City Council confirmed Good's identity as a joint statement Wednesday, calling her a member of our community and demanding that ICE leave the city. So, again, the lawful order, no matter what you think about ICE, no matter what you think about what they're trying to do to remove people that entered this country illegally and should be exited. This was a big running point for the president. He said, listen, 20 million made it here and blah, 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 or whatever the numbers are. I don't care to debate that. Here's what I'm going to do if I win. I'm going to look at where a lot of this money has been going to. I'm going to take a look at some of the Biden appropriations of funds, what looks like initially, and at the top, just when you glaze over it, like it might be okay, but our investigations have shown that there's hundreds of billions, like maybe trillions of dollars worth of money that's going out that the taxpayers are paying. I'm interested as a taxpayer in that. I'm interested in this story about Could we actually get it to where we pay no property tax? Is it possible that we can make so much money on tariffs as a nation that we would abolish income tax? Is it possible? Is it possible? Is it possible? Is it possible? Yeah, I'd be very interested in finding out about that. I would be very interested in learning how my family could do better economically, and how I raise my children and costs of colleges, and how I could have a couple of extra nights a month out to tell my wife how much I love her, to take care of things and the quality of life for my family. I'm interested in all of that. I am. And I want teachers paid, and I want police paid, and I want federal agents paid, and I want the roads to be smooth, and I want all that too. And I'm not willing to not pay what I owe. I'll pay what I owe. I'll pay what I owe. Let's go figure it out. But is there a better way? It sure sounds like it's possible. It sure sounds like we're onto something, and we're changing, and we're evolving, and we're breaking these social norms that we had, that we've been forced to believe is the way it has to be. And it doesn't have to be that way. This is what's going on in Iran. This is what's going on. I mean, young people there are saying, do we really have to be, controlled this way? Isn't there something better? Listen, I always say this about, people that complain about America. Do you see a huge number of people loading up their cars or loading up their gear and sending it ahead to move to Russia? Do you see a huge amount of people loading up? Forget about the two countries that are attached to us, Canada and Mexico, because you can drive there and they're our neighbors. But a lot of people go down to Mexico and retire, for sure. It has beautiful beaches, and our dollar is very strong. So there's an example that happens quite often. How many people do you see that leave and move to France, that leave and move to Italy? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. How many Italians come here? How many French people come here? How many do you see go to Iran or Kuwait or name a Middle Eastern country? When you get past Saudi Arabia, which more people in the last 10 years have ventured out to go see, they visit Saudi Arabia more. They don't move to Saudi Arabia. There's financial interests that people have, and they're investing in Saudi Arabia, but they all come here, baby. They all come to the USA. This is where they send their kids. This is where they relocate. Because they're free here. Because they don't face that tyranny that they face in Iran. That these young kids are looking at it, and they're getting a lot more hip because of the internet and the access that they have to go, we don't have to live like this. We really don't have to live like this. And this government is holding us back from having a much better quality of life. That's what you're seeing going on there right now. And I'm stunned at how select people who oppose the administration that's in the White House right now, how they use these unfortunate incidents, how they, I've said before, I used to read and watch Keith Olbermann all the time. I did. Interesting sportscaster, very bright man. And now he exclusively, I don't know if he's under contract from the Democratic Party or whatever it is, but he exclusively just bashes Trump with ridiculous and uses terrible terminology. He's lowered his standards for what he's willing to say and how he's willing to act. For instance, I'm sure if he said something about me or somebody who has my views, and that idiot, there's a name attached to it or an insult hurled at, or yes, you, the F word constantly, and I think to myself, what happened to Keith Olbermann, who I used to watch, talk about sports, and who I used to wait for the next article or the next episode to come out. And now he just makes a living off of opposing the president and the Republican Party by hurling insults at them. And I watch this terrible shift. These Democratic officials, people that are running for office, and they, that they're getting ready to throw their hat in the ring, and they're going to run for, and they're testing the waters now. And so because they really don't have a lot to talk about what they're going to do to change it, about what they're going to do to make it better, what their plan is, all they have to do is just bash the president, and they become part of that cycle that goes on, that goes, it's a copier. It's copying the same page. Sometimes you roll out 100 copies. Sometimes you roll out 2 million copies. But it's the same shit, different day. And they continue to use propaganda and to find something negative about even really good things, saving us money, uncovering injustice and fraud, blah, blah, blah. So let me read this last thing. This morning, an ICE agent shot and killed Renee Nicole Good, a member of our community. The statement said, anyone who kills someone in our city deserves to be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The council members said they support Minneapolis immigrant community and accused federal immigration authorities of bringing chaos and violence to the city, vowing to work with state partners to protect residents. So, to the city of Minneapolis, who is got a lot on their plate right now. They really do. They have a lot on their plate. If this had been a Minneapolis cop and he was white and he killed an African-American kid, or even go back to George Floyd, put his knee down on his neck while he screamed and cried for his life and killed him as a result, you'd be pretty upset. You'd have every right to be pretty upset because they abused their authority. They abused their power over this man and killed him. If George Floyd was a shooting and he ran out of a store with a knife in his hand, or he pulled a gun, or he tried to run the police over and they shot him and killed him, you wouldn't have had a big protest about what happened to George Floyd. So is it that you've accepted that if it's a cop or it's an FBI agent or somebody that you give more acceptance to, that it would be okay for them to use fatal force? I'm not sure. I can't really put my finger on, besides the fact that it's a young woman and she was killed, which is terrible. It was terrible that George Floyd was killed. It's terrible when anyone gets killed. But clearly this woman made an aggressive choice that led to her death. At the point when the agent goes to open the door, and that's like the crescendo of it before shots are fired. And then she accelerates the vehicle and spins it a little bit to the left, and the front left side of the car makes contact with the agent. Whole different set of circumstances now. It's no longer step out of the car, but you've tried to run over an agent. And even if that wasn't her goal, again, it doesn't matter how it looks to them, how it looks to the guy with the gun that has the front end of a truck bearing down on him and the tires are spinning and she's at the wheel. She was told to stop and get out of the car, open the door. You can hear all the lawful commands. So she made a terrible choice. In that moment, guns are drawn and you're not sure what's going on. And you don't know who this lady is. You don't know. She wrote poetry and she was an upstanding student. In that moment, she was aggressively fleeing an investigation that was taking place. If the police tell you, you see these videos all the time, step out of the car, well, it's not my lawful this and blah, and your hands are moving around the car, that gun's coming out. That gun is coming out. If you reach to the center console and pull out your cell phone because you think it's your right to film it and all this other bullshit, you're running a terrible risk with a cop who's got a gun in his hand. So again, does that mean if a cop shoots the kid and the kid, doesn't have a gun? I would hate to be in the position that the police are in. I would. You have to make sure that you have visual sight and he was moving the gun towards you, that there has to be a gun. If you reach in the middle console, I'm reaching down right now and you're looking out the window and he goes, take your hand out of there, let me see your hands, let me see your hand. And he's aiming his gun at you. He's telling you, let me see your hands now. And you come out with anything in that hand and turn it towards me. I want to go see my wife. I love my wife. I love my life with her. She's my best friend and my partner. And I see something dark and ominous turning around to me at night on a highway. Bro, I'm probably going to shoot you. Now, do I have to shoot you in the head or in the chest? I don't know. But if anything is in your hand coming out of that center console, when I've given you don't put your hand in, and you see these videos on the body cam of a cop, and you think to yourself, what the fuck was this guy thinking? And then of course everybody in his family, and he was murdered. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. I really am. And when it comes to the police, and again, I'm not saying that I haven't seen other ones. I just went over George Floyd. They killed that guy. They killed him. I don't care what you thought of George Floyd. I don't care what you think. that didn't have to happen, and that was a terrible choice, and they killed him, period. That's it. No reason to discuss that. And there's other ones. And they happen all the time. In this case, and I'm doing this show on what happened to this woman, she made a terrible choice. And once that truck made contact with that agent, it's so funny because I've asked other people quietly now, if the tire ran over the guy's head and killed him, would you have been okay with them shooting? And the answer was, oh, well, that would be different. Why would that be different? We didn't know what happened to the guy. We don't know, in that moment, in those seconds where you're hitting the accelerator and the truck is fishtailing and making contact as he puts his hands on the front of the truck. We don't know what happened in a bang bang quick situation. What the fuck was this chick thinking? Again, she's not, doesn't seem to be some radical or, it doesn't look like she has. So far, this is just, a day now, but it doesn't seem like she has a record that would support someone doing something as stupid as this. So I'm going to say her intent, and I'm guessing based on footage and learning more about her, she panicked. I'm guessing she panicked. But if I'm the guy with the gun and you're running over one of my partners and you've been told, opening the door and everything I've been over, you're probably going to get shot. Is anyone going to look at that responsibility on her part of what she created by accelerating that vehicle and trying to leave that scene after being warned aggressively with multiple agents with guns out? It was a terrible choice. So, like I was about to tell you, when the police tell you, get out of the car, do you really believe that they're just going to shoot you if you step out? That this whole theory of, this is how mistakes are. If the police say, get out of the car, put your hands on the hood, well, if you didn't do anything wrong, if you don't have a kilo of coke in your trunk, if you haven't killed someone and you're on the run, or you're not wanted for some reason, and even if you are wanted, if you have, you hear about certain people will turn around and say, well, he has warrants out for his arrest. He didn't want to go to jail. Did you want to get shot? Straighten out your warrants. Get your shit together and take care of your business. Now you see why sometimes these guys, they don't want to go back to prison. They don't want to do whatever it is. Okay, well, you roll the dice then. You're taking a chance that if you take off in that car and the cop has to run back to his car and radio in, and now you're in a chase and you're doing 95 miles an hour down side streets, you might end up wrapped around a tree with you and all your friends dead or crippled or you're making that choice. You're making a terrible choice. But I'm going to raise my son to listen to what the cops say. I don't want him to end up getting shot. Hopefully he hasn't done anything wrong. And if he has, we'll go over that with our lawyers and whatever it has to happen. But I don't want him to take the law into his own hands. I don't want him to put himself in a situation that allows a police officer to have to make the decision of shooting him or not. Now, by no means am I saying to you that I'm not aware that there are police officers that have made unjustifiable shootings or attacks or beatings or whatever it may be, arrests, planted evidence. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on. These are human beings and they make mistakes. Don't panic. Just do what you're told. Do what you're told, especially if you didn't do anything wrong. If you didn't do anything wrong, why in God's name would you hit the accelerator and take off from a scene where it appears 4 or 5 agents are walking at the car, guns drawn? What do you think they're going to do with those guns? So this is a terrible thing that has happened in Minneapolis. I have friends that are in south of Minneapolis that do great work on a lot of different levels. I have some interest in businesses that are in Minnesota, and they are the nicest guys. They really are. But I got to tell you, I've spoken to them. What does the working class guy think is going on here? And they're like, this is one of the reasons why we're down south in Waseca. We don't. It's crazy up there what's going on now. we've really lost our way in Minnesota. And not everybody, not all of it. It's not all terrible, but it's as bad as it's gotten under this governor's tutelage. Yeah, this is mid-America. This is that foundation. This is, from Chicago, the next big one that you get to is Minneapolis on that northern tier. It's sad. It's sad to see, so many law-abiding, hard-working Minnesota families, and this is what the reflection is of the state right now, because they're in such chaos under this leadership. It may be time for him to step down. I hear he's when it's been suggested to him, he has said, Waltz, that I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to that. There's too much money, too much stuff going on. Big names are going to come out. We're going to find out that government leaders and people that took advantage of the system are in on this, payoffs and all kinds of stuff. It's going to get worse. And they're not afraid to riot and do things to protest in a very aggressive way in Minnesota. The governor was behind some of the stuff that went on up there in the last couple of years. So I don't envy being a law-abiding, hardworking family in Minnesota right now. I don't. I think that they're getting lost in the shuffle right now due to bad leadership and due to irregularities and illegal activity through this fraud scandal. So, and now look at this girl. She has a mom. She had a kid. I think it's awful that this girl had to die. But if you're from Minnesota, you're from one of these areas where this stuff is going on right now, don't panic. Don't act righteously right now. If you're ordered to step out of your car, if you're ordered to stop, if you're ordered, these people aren't messing around. Certainly don't aggress them, if she had sat in her car and put her hands where they could be seen and was yelling out a cracked window at them, I'm not doing that, whatever it was that her problem was with all of it. But to try to leave the scene of being detained in an aggressive way, well, we've seen what can happen. And I look at the other scenarios, what if the agents just let her go? What if no contact had been made with the agent, which obviously the vehicle did strike him? And maybe she would be alive today. Maybe if different agents were involved, they would have let her go. I think once the change in this was, once the vehicle, not just skidded away, I think they probably, but when it struck the agent, all bets were off then. All bets are off if the projectile is used, and that can be, a knife, you could throw it, a gun, obviously, but a car. We've seen a lot of these pullovers when the guy runs the car towards the other cops and they just start opening fire. There's no question they've been instructed to get out of the vehicle, and now they've used the car as a weapon. So I'm so sorry to the family and for other people in Minnesota that are struggling due to the death of this woman. But what a terrible choice on her part. What a terrible, terrible choice. And so the events lined up, and this was the result of it. And it's very, very sad. So thanks for watching the show. Again, if you can hit subscribe, if you can hit follow, if you can like the show, if you can share the show, God bless you. And I will see you in a couple of days. And I'm going to also end, as I always do, another thing that I get. If you don't like prayer, if you don't follow Christ, if there's any reason why you don't want to watch when I get to this point of the show, then turn it off. It's okay. I don't sit here if you're a Buddhist or if you're a Muslim and criticize you for what you believe. You believe what you want. For me, I end in prayer because everything I do in the name of the Lord. So, Lord, thank you for your guidance and your continued protection for me and my family, God. This is just such an incredibly active time in my life as we start the new year. And I ask you, God, to heal this family and to heal what's going on in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The level of tension and the agents that are there and the people that live there and the family of this girl who was killed. Just all of them, God, if you can put your hand on and calm the situation down so we don't lose any more lives. We thank you, Lord. We pray for you and we love you, and we are so thankful. We are so thankful for the many blessings that you bestow on us every day. Amen. I was fresh on my mind to talk to you about the prayer part because I got a terrible comment, a private message from a woman who just thought how obnoxious it was that you push your religious beliefs on. And I thought, gosh, I really don't feel like I'm pushing my religious beliefs on anyone. If you don't dig what or why are you watching the show knowing that I'm a born-again Christian and that I speak about the Lord and that I pray at the end? Obviously, you watch my show. So when I left to come down to do the show, my wife said, go get him handsome. When she tells me that she thinks I'm handsome, it's like being dipped in water that makes you feel amazing. Coming from her, considering how beautiful she is compared to me. There's something to be said about people that criticize. Why do you watch them? Are you unable to not watch? Does it infuriate you, my views? Do you support what I say so much so that you want that injection of truth? Do you just like listening to me? I wonder, because I look at other people that have shows. I look at my brother Stephen, who has a podcast, and I've watched a few of the episodes. It's not a podcast that I would normally watch. I watch it because he's my brother, and then I watch a lot of he's on my feed social media wise, so I watch like some of the stuff that he'll talk about, some of the posts that he'll do, and it'll have all the stuff about his show on the bottom, and it'll talk about the different things, but he does these very cryptic, and he's moving around, and then he says, with music playing in the background, the words of the music come up, and then he makes some statements like, and soon they will find out where the treasure lives in heaven. And I go, ooh, hang on, let me go back on. Did I miss something? What does that mean? So I have so little an idea of what the fuck he's talking about. I really don't. I mean, the Stephen that I know would say, and you people who don't support Christ and then he'll quote something from the Bible and he'll, cut your head off, laser focus, supported this president in 2016, and now I'm out of politics, and just remember Jimmy Kimmel, one day, the righteous something, and I'll go, Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, so I don't agree with a lot of what Kimmel does, but are we talking about a particular passage about Jimmy Kimmel? Are we talking about something? And I end up reading, did he say something? Jimmy Kimmel News, Jimmy Kimmel Quotes, Jimmy Kimmel Recently, Jimmy Kimmel Today, and I can't really find exactly what Stevie is talking about. I wish I understood more. I really do, because I want to catch what he's vibing, and maybe he's got some kind of inside information that I'm not aware of, the logical thing, I'm going to get questions now, or why don't you call him? I don't talk with my brother Stephen very often. I haven't spoken to him now in probably almost a year. I haven't spoken, and that was by his choice. He decided what he wanted, that it was best for him to not have contact. I think he talks to Beth, my sister, my older sister, who's the matriarch of the family now, and he talks now with Alec, which I think is great. Alec and I, we talk when we need to. We have an understanding. We have very different political views, and I think that shapes some of our interaction, or maybe quite a bit. And then there's my brother Billy, my sister Jane, who I speak to often, but not so much Stephen at all, and very limited with Beth and Alec. And I guess that's just how they want it right now, and I've learned that I have to accept that. But boy, when people ask me private questions about what Stephen's talking about, I honestly, I'm just as perplexed. I don't have any idea a lot of times what he is referring to. So I wanted to put that out there today because I got like 11 11 messages, private messaging me saying, did you see this? And they attached a posting of Stephen's. I think it's better to ask Stephen because I don't have a clue what he's talking about. I don't. So maybe hit Stephen up on his website, or just Google him on social media, and you can say, hey, Stephen, what the hell are you talking about? What does that mean? And then maybe he'll respond because I have no idea. Listen, have a great day. Have a blessed day. It's the new year now, and I hope everyone's doing well. I did an episode on resolutions. So write in and let me know what your resolution was, how it's going. If you didn't make it, or if maybe we can start again. Maybe we can even read some of those. Maybe we'll do a resolution show, an update. That would be really fun. And I'll tell you how I'm doing, what's going on with me. I'm still sticking to my resolution. And mine was to eat better and get in better shape. And I'll go over I'll give it a couple weeks so I have something to report on. But God loves you. God loves you. Amen. Talk to you next week.